Good morning, everybody. This is Man Coverage with Knoxville Nate and Rico McCoy. We are set to bring you college football recap action from yesterday, October 9, 2021. Wild day in college football. This is the kind of day today that I watch college football for because that was a tremendous day. Actually, we had a couple good days. Friday had a couple good games. Cincinnati and Arizona State both played, and then Saturday was unbelievable. And we're just going to jump right into it. I want to get the coach's thoughts on Alabama going down. We've talked about it. Florida gave them a good game, and finally Texas A&M outlasted them. What'd you think about that one, Rico?
Classic ball game. A&M fought to the finish, came out with the victory. Great offense on Alabama's behalf. It's just the defense has to tighten up a little bit, and I don't think it's anything to panic about. They look good, playing so far this year, but they didn't look invincible. So we knew that this day would come eventually. Do I think they're still going to be one of those final two teams to play at the end of the year? I do. Because we both know that Coach Saban learns, from his experiences, and his record shows that. So it just showed us Saturday that they're just like anybody else. They got to put their pants on a leg at a time, and A&M came out with that attitude and fought to the finish and walked away with the win. A great team effort. You could see their sideline was hyped up throughout the whole game. The guys came ready for the challenge. What do you think?
Yeah, buddy. Texas A&M lost 2 games in a row. And I think, that was one of the reasons people were not giving them a chance maybe in this ball game. However, they've played well. I mean, they haven't gotten blown out. And, I still think A&M's a good team. They lost to Arkansas 20-10. They lost to Mississippi State 26-22. But, they're playing with a new quarterback. Calzada, is getting his feet under him. And I think he finally had his best game, 21-31, 285 yards, 3 touchdowns. He came to play. And I think the offensive production was up for Texas A&M. And then their defense played a really good ball game. I mean, as you said, Bama's still Bama. They still got their points, but their defense looked a little vulnerable. I'm not going to jump off the ship and tell you that I think Bama's in trouble, because I don't think they are. They still are one of the top 3 teams in college football. But I do think, you've seen the parity. And me and you talked about it. I think the playing field has been leveled. These teams were able to bring back, because of the COVID-free year, some teams were able to bring guys back, and teams like Bama and Clemson and Ohio State, they all lost everybody, the same amount of guys they usually lose to the NFL. And some of these other teams got to keep guys, and it made them better. And I think that's why we're seeing games like this. I don't know if you think that has anything to do with it, but I think the parity has gone up, and I think the gap has decreased.
Yeah, I agree. The gap's definitely closed down quite a bit. And I also want to give a shout out to 2 of my hometown guys. Tyree Johnson had 2 sacks in the game for A&M, and Aaron Hansford, I want to say, led the team in tackles. Those 2 cadets, St. John's cadets out of D.C. So, they both showed up and showed out on the biggest stage, and shoot, I'm happy for those guys. Represent the hometown and fellow cadets. They balled out.
Yeah, man, that's pretty impressive. And I've got another gentleman from your hometown area that we're going to discuss a little bit later. Just stemming off of that.
Huh?
What's that?
The gunslinger.
Man, I in our preview show, I discussed that kid, but I didn't think it was going to be coming this quick. But we'll get into that in a minute. I just want to touch real quick on, as you mentioned, the Georgia game. I think it's pretty amazing what Georgia's doing right now, considering, they JT Daniels hasn't played. They've got the Cologne out there is what I call him, Stetson Bennett the seventh. Who what do you want to say about the kid? He runs the offense pretty well, but he's not a top tier quarterback. But it doesn't seem to matter. The defensive line for Georgia is dominating. Their offensive line, as always, is dominating. And I think a pretty big win, taking down Auburn 34-10. What were your thoughts on Georgia?
That's it. They're the real deal. This may be their time.
Yeah.
This may be their time. They're playing great ball defensively. It's incredible. It's fun to watch those guys fly around. They're physical. They got a little nasty to them. They're big, aggressive, athletic guys on the front. I say the front seven. Offensive line, we all know that's where you win or lose it. O-line, D-line. If you can't control the trenches, you won't win the game. So that's why you say that the quarterback's not a top-tier guy, but you don't have to be when you have a top-tier O-line. Well, their play is top tier right now. D-line is amazing. Those outside backers they have are fast, aggressive, athletic guys. So, and that's the outcome you get, man. All you got to do is play your part, do your role, and you'll be successful. And I think that team understands that. Nobody's trying to do more than what's necessary. They're all doing their job, and they're doing it well. So now you got Georgia as pretty much the front runners in my book.
Yeah, I mean, they're probably going to be the number one team come tomorrow. And, I think they deserve it. They've earned it. They've taken care of business. They've played some good games. And they're the number one team right now. And that's – I think they've earned the right to be number one because they've continued to win even without probably their starting quarterback in JT Daniels. Before we get to the Red River shootout, I want to discuss a little Big Ten action. We've got my boy James Bonneville coming to us live from the Midwest, and we're going to touch a little bit on the Iowa Penn State game. Let's see if we can bring Jamesy into the fold.
Hey, how you doing? Can you hear me all right?
Hey, what's up, James?
Hey, how you doing, Rico?
Good, man. Good
if you guys didn't get a chance to watch the Iowa Penn State game, it was a typical Iowa game. It was a rock fight. It's your grandpa's football game where defense and let's ground it out and pound it out happen. I mean, I think the pivotal point in the game is when you saw Clifford go down. I mean, you look at when Clifford's in the game, they're 5 of 8 on third down conversions. When Roberson comes in from that point moving on, they're 0 of 11. And I think that is just telltale of the rest of the game and how it went. They just could not move the ball. Another thing I think people don't put into consideration is prior to COVID happening, Journey Brown had retired from football because of a heart ailment. And you could definitely see that their running game isn't nearly as strong as it once was. I mean, Journey Brown, you look back at when Minnesota played them in 2019, he's big, he's strong, he's fast. And he just kind of set himself apart, especially in the bowl game, and not having that running game effect really has affected Penn State quite a bit. But you look at that roster with Jahan Dotson and Lambert Smith. Sean Gilbert's not a world beater, but I guarantee you James Franklin in the second half was wishing that Levis never transferred to Kentucky, because I think he would have been the difference of them knocking off Iowa, because Iowa's defense is outstanding, but their offense is fairly pedestrian. It's just 80% of the game, Petrus is going to play pretty poor, and then he'll have 4 big plays, and it's usually on a play action crossing route going up over the top with, and the safeties are sitting still because everybody's looking for those runs on those zone kickouts. So,
yeah,
you look at the rest of the schedule on Iowa. The blueprint was there. You got to get passes on the outside because Iowa wants to take away the best part of your game. They want to take away the middle of the field, and you can't allow Campbell and Van Valkenburg to attack you either on the inside or the outside. So you got to get on the outside quick and force their safeties out to pressure them up the middle. So you have to have a good passing game. So I look at teams like Wisconsin. are going to have problems with. But Purdue or Minnesota, if we can get our crap together, I think can beat them. But you can't turn the ball over. You can't have 4 interceptions once again against that Iowa defense.
Yeah, and Rico and James, I want to ask you both this question. I watched this game yesterday. Both teams are good. Actually, I watched this game this morning, but regardless, both teams are good. I liked both their defenses. Like you said, Penn State was up 20-3.
Yeah.
Or they were outscored 20-3 after Clifford left the game. And I'm watching both these teams, and I think they're both solid. They both have good defenses. But Rico, I'll ask you first. Do you think either one of these teams can beat the Buckeyes the way they're playing right now? I mean,
I would say that Iowa has the better shot than Penn State. I don't know, man. That's a tough question because, like James was just talking about with that defense of ours, I would prefer them rather than Penn State's at this point against that explosive Ohio State offense. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And with Penn State's quarterback being out, I don't know how long he'll be out. But as of right now, I'm taking Iowa over Penn State against Ohio State. I just think they give me a best opportunity for a win. If I had to pick a team to beat, to go in the big house or not the big house, what do we call that? The horseshoe.
The shoe.
And get a win. I don't know. What do you think, James?
I think it would be – I agree with you. I think Penn State would be the easier matchup because Sean Clifford, you never know what you get. I've seen him play brilliant games, and I've seen him play games where you question if he showed up that day. Yeah. I know he's a Cincinnati kid and all, where with Iowa, Iowa has this unbelievable ability of creating a rock fight no matter what. I've never seen a team do more with 2- and 3-star players than ever before. The key would be, I think Trayvon Henderson would be probably the X factor, especially with those bubble screens out to him on the outside, where you can keep peppering him, moving those safeties out farther and farther. I think that's where, if I was Ryan Day, I would exploit to try to open up the middle because you got to go quick passes, and you can't do these long drawn out routes to Olave and Wilson deep because Campbell's got, 6'5" middle linebacker who's got wheels. He's a pterodactyl back there. So.
Right.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying, man, I'm not trying to toot my own team's horn, but I'm just being honest.
I would say Ohio State's the best team in the Big Ten. And I think most people would say that.
They look better, man. Our quarterback is no longer looks like he has the proverbial crap in his pants.
Yeah.
He's calm, collected, and he was hitting throws before. He was just missing some. And now I think he looks good. And James, I want to get your thoughts here before we get out of here. I want to talk to you both actually about Michigan State. Michigan State is still undefeated. Yeah. Michigan State played a Rutgers team that got dismantled by the Buckeyes a week ago. But, me and Rico have talked a lot about the coach from Michigan State and Coach Tucker and what he's done and the culture he's delivered. First off, Rico, I want to get your thoughts on the game yesterday. Our boy Walker was unstoppable, 94-yard touchdown run, longest run from scrimmage in Spartan history. And then, the quarterback played better. And then the wide receiver, Jalen Naylor, 5 catches, 221, 3 touchdowns. I got to say, I think Sparty's for real. And Rico, you talked about this several weeks ago. What are your thoughts now on the Spartans after the last 2 weeks?
Listen, I'm impressed. I'm impressed with the ball club. Kenneth Walker's he's in his zone right now. He's proven that it's hard to stop him. Just think about it. When's the last time you really talked about a Michigan State offense being this productive? You're throwing the ball well, you're running the ball. They've had defense even when they've, been below 500. They still have pretty solid defenses. So the only thing new now is the offensive production. And I don't know, man. I think they can do something with what they have right now. They're a complete ball club right now. Offensively, they have weapons. They got receivers getting 200 yards, running back guys, rushing for 200 yards a game. good time of possession average. And I get what you're saying. Ohio State did destroy Rutgers, but they have Greg Schiano. You're not going to get that same team the following week. You get it. He's a quality coach, and he's proven that he can change a program. So 31 points on them is still impressive in my book.
Yeah, you look at Schiano. I mean, look at this recruiting class he's got coming in. I mean, I've been saying for decades, if you could lock down New Jersey, you've got a juggernaut on your hands. And I was out there 2 years ago when they played Maryland, just because I've never been to Piscataway before to see a game. And the environment was dead. And you could just, like, you look around, like, just driving down. I'm like, there is so much talent within a 2-hour radius of that city.
Yep.
You don't have to go very many places. I mean, heck, look at running backs. No Sean Moreno, Jalen Berger, Saquon Barkley, all these guys, Jonathan Taylor, Jabril Peppers, all commits to Rutgers at one point and decommitted. I mean, they could take on Ohio State. Now, Soup Tucker, I gotta say, you look at his team, and it honest to God, it reminds me so much of where he went to play college ball at. I mean, people probably forget about this. He was on that 93 Rose Bowl team that Wisconsin played on, where you're going to build it on the offensive line and defensive line. I mean, you look at Walker, they're running a very 1990s Big Ten style offense, and they're doing play action and nailer. He's done a great job of filling in the gaps, going with a lot of transfers, like the Octavian Brown kid they got from us, big middle linebacker who's going to be a stud for them at some point. I mean, I think the real question is going to be October 30th against Michigan in Michigan State. I mean, you're playing for Paul Bunyan. I mean, you want to find a way to put Harbaugh back on his heels, win that game. And Michigan State has done it, especially under the D'Antonio era.
They did it last year.
Yeah.
People forget that was one of their few wins last year. He beat Michigan.
Yeah.
And I don't know, man. I'm excited to see what he's building. But you hit something on the head. Schiano, he's a heck of a coach, man. Do you remember the transition when he took over when they were in the Big East? Come on, yes. They were last place in the Big East until winning conference championships. Yeah. I mean, he transformed that program.
Even go back to his his coaching tree. People don't look at this. There's a lot of great coaches that came from that coaching tree. Heck, PJ Fleck is a disciple of Schiano's coaching tree. You look at their receiving core there are so many of those receivers and running backs and quarterbacks. I mean, heck, at one point, Rutgers had more guys in the NFL than any other team. Yeah. Rutgers. Yeah. And that's a testament to Greg Schiano. I mean, it's
no. And I saw this last week. I know we took them apart, but it was a different Rutgers team that I saw playing out there. And if they give him another year or two, and let him get his recruits in there, and I think he'll have them back where they once were. And
I think it's a 5-year plan, and I think Rutgers win the East. They're going to
give him time because they don't have anyone else that wants that job. So they're going to give him some time.
As Tennessee guys, are you guys kind of annoyed that you guys didn't get Schiano when you had the chance?
I was upset. I thought he would have been a great hire because he's proven.
Yeah,
he's proven.
I agree. I agree with you 100%. When they announced that he was coming here, I was like, you know what? He might be kind of a DICK, but he is going to be the best coach we've had, since the old ball coach. And that's what I said. And, then they got on the, Vol Twitter, got on him and got the contract canceled. And, we sucked for however many years Jeremy Pruitt was here. So, yeah, I agree. I think he would have been a good hire, and I think he would have done a good job here. And talking about coaches, Scott Frost, does he have more time, James? I mean, this is a guy who won a national championship there. I got to ask you both. I mean, they should have won that game yesterday, and they did not. And what? I got to think that the Cornhusker Nation's got to be reeling a little bit. What do you guys think about where Nebraska's at and how much time Scott Frost has got left?
You want to go first, James, or what?
honest to God, I in some ways I look at Nebraska and swear they're cursed, because if something can go wrong, it'll go wrong for Nebraska. I mean, how is it that you have a 10-point lead over Michigan State and don't give up a first down and lose? Is just shocking to me. I mean, it's like I'm waiting for what's that guy from Major League that wanted to bring a live chicken into the locker room to sacrifice? Joe Boo. You know, I mean, like yesterday when Martinez, all he had to do was go down and he fumbles the ball and Michigan wins. I mean, the biggest problem Nebraska looks significantly better, especially on the defensive side of the ball. Martinez actually looks like a quarterback that doesn't overthrow everything in sight. Their biggest problem is I don't think they know how to win. But if you're Nebraska, if your golden boy can't take it over the top, who do you hire? I mean, there is nobody left unless you go after Zach Taylor at Cincinnati. But if I'm Taylor, I'm not leaving Cincinnati. You got something you're building there. There's no heir apparent.
No, I'm just saying, Rico, this is a Nebraska team that right now is 4 plays away from being 7-0. So doesn't some of that fall on the coach, Rico?
I'd say so. I'd agree. Once or twice, just luck, chance, bad luck. But 4 times, somebody has to take the blame, man. So that's a bit of a preparation thing at that point. I just think that it was more of a, how can I say this? It was like a high school sweetheart with Coach Frost, but you link up with her 10 years later and she's a different woman, you're a different man, and it was not that fit. And that's how I see it.
You want the love.
You want it to work, but you can't force it.
But you can't change who we are.
Look back at when Frost came to the Big Ten. I mean, not only did he have the ballyhooed expectations of what happened at Central Florida, but Big Ten media days coming out and saying, if you're going to beat us, you better beat us now because you're not going to beat us later. You can't tell me everybody and their dog doesn't remember that. And every Big Ten media day, he's taking these underhand shots at coaches. He does it to Fleck all the time. And you could tell, I mean, trust me, I know for a fact Fleck's got that game circled on the docket for, 30. We had 40 guys out last year and we beat them. Our entire starting offensive line was freshmen, true freshmen, and we won. And Ibrahim was out. The year before, quite frankly, I don't know how they scored. We just beat them into oblivion. And I just
tell the people how you really feel, James.
Oh, I like Scott Frost. I really do. But it just seems like ever since he's gotten there, it's all over the mark. And I don't know where to go from there. It's kind of hard to do a reboot in year 4.
Yeah. Well, I'm just interested to see whether they give him more time and, how patient these Cornhusker fans are, because, I live in one of these areas that used to be a, national power, and it no longer is. And some of those teams, they still think it's 1990, and it's not. So we'll see what happens. But
they're still going to spend $15 million if they're going to buy him out.
Yeah, no, and I think money talks and bullshit walks. So I think they may give him another year and hang on to their cash.
For $15 million, hey, if they want to buy me out for $15, I'll
keep him.
I'm out. Take me away. But I don't.
We'll see. Well, hey, James, I appreciate you joining us, man. Come back and see us here in a week or two. We want to catch in and get some more Big Ten updates from you.
Absolutely. I think that Army-Wisconsin game is going to be the real rock fight of all rock fights next week.
Yeah, you heard they canceled the Army game here because they didn't want them to come into town. So, I'm still trying to figure that one out. But go Black Knights.
Absolutely. And in the future games, for all the bettors out there, the Ole Miss Tennessee game, if the over-under is under 80, I'll be shocked. Because if you're old school and like defense, it ain't going to happen. I think
It's
first
not.
one to 60 is going to win.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt.
All right, guys. Thanks so
All right,
much.
James. Appreciate
Hey,
it,
pleasure
buddy.
meeting y'all. All right.
All
Later.
right, see you. All right, that was our Big Ten correspondent, James Peter Bonneville, bringing a little bit to the table there. We've got to discuss before we move on what happened yesterday in the Cotton Bowl. I mean, it's been an up and down year for the Sooners, even though they've won every game. I mean, they've played well at times, they've played bad at times. They've been booing their quarterback. Well, yesterday the quarterback didn't play real well again. They got down deep, and they reached in their pocket and brought out the DC boy.
How about
that? Caleb Williams. This is a kid that me and you both talked about coming from Gonzaga prep who, has a lot of talent. And we figured we'd see him. We just didn't know when. And once he got on the field, I don't think at this point you can take him back off. What did you think about the game yesterday? And what the hell does Lincoln Riley do at quarterback now, Rico?
You have to – I'm biased. I don't care. You have to go with the DC guy. I mean, you just happen to have a 5-star sitting on your bench. Let's be real. He was he was a top 5 player in the country coming out overall. He's a heck of a football player. He played in one of the best conferences in the country in that WCAC. And, most of his competition are guys who are playing D1 ball all over the country in high school. So, I don't know, man. You can't bench a guy like that. He came out. He saved your butt. He did everything plus some.
Yeah.
And I was happy to see him get it done.
Yeah, no, I was very impressed. And, to be honest, Casey Thompson, since he's taken over as the quarterback for Texas, that offense has looked different. And he threw 5 touchdowns yesterday and played well. But the difference was Caleb Williams and Kennedy Brooks. Texas's defense couldn't stop Kennedy Brooks. And once you added in Caleb Williams' ability to throw and run, the game just got away from the Longhorns. And I think, Spencer's had his chances. He's been out there all year. He's struggled at times. And I'm not saying this because I don't like Spencer Rattler. I've got nothing against him. I think he's a good player. But I just, looking at that game yesterday, I think this kid is better. I don't know if you agree with me, but I just think he's a better player.
He showed poise. He led the offense. I like this whole demeanor. I like how he played. I like how he carried himself. And, that's what happens when you go to a premier program. You have premier players waiting behind you. And all you can do now if you're Spencer Rattler is come to practice every day, be positive, work on your craft, and you get another opportunity, you got to take advantage of it. The same way Caleb's taking advantage of it right now. You can't be a poor sport and shut down. You're one play away from getting back on the field. So it's important that you don't let your ego get the best of you. And you show up to work like all other guys every day and do what's needed from the team. If they need you to be behind this young guy and support him, and be a safety guy for the program, that's what you have to do. Who knows what he'll do after the season? That's not our call. We'll see what he does. But right now, you got to finish what you started.
No, I agree. And I think you've got to handle it, similar to how Jalen Hurts handled it. Jalen Hurts was replaced after going 28-2. Something like that, and was a hell of a player. And the coach decided to go a different direction. You never heard one word out of Jalen Hurts. He kept his business going. He kept doing what he was doing. He ended up coming back in and winning the SEC championship game for Alabama, and then he went on to Oklahoma, and the rest is history. So I'm not saying this is the end of Spencer Rattler. I'm just saying this is the beginning of Caleb Williams.
Hey, I agree. You stated that perfectly. It's not the end for Spencer Rattler. We both know that. He has a lot of football left to play, but Caleb Caleb is just getting going.
Yeah, no, man, he's special, and he's got that it factor where the kid can throw it and he can run it, which when you can do both, it just makes it that much harder for the defense, in my opinion, to prepare and to stop somebody when you're not sure what the best way to stop them is. I mean, if you go nickel or dime and try and, keep a lid on him throwing the ball, well, then he's going to hurt you with his legs. And this kid is he's one of the best dual threat quarterbacks I've seen in the last 5 to 10 years. And I think he made a very smart choice going to Boomer Soonerland and playing in Lincoln Riley's offense. Yeah. So anyway, pretty amazing game, 55-48. Oklahoma came back, won the shootout. They're still undefeated, but, once again, this is another team where the gap has been closed. I mean, they've been tested 4 or 5 times this year, and it hasn't been a cakewalk. So we'll see what happens. Pretty interesting that both those teams are now going to the SEC. It was a pretty good showing by both of them, and it looks like either one of them could probably play in the Southeastern Conference if they keep playing like that. But we're going to move on, and we're going to touch on a couple of games that happened on Friday night. I know me and you talked about it off air. I just want to make sure to give some props to Luke Fickell in Cincinnati. Temple is not a joke. They've got Dwayne Mathis, who transferred from Georgia. Pretty good player, really good high school player. I think he will be eventually a good college quarterback. And Temple's no joke, man. And the second half, Cincinnati flipped the script. And I just have to say, I think the Bearcats are for real. I think they're a team that should definitely, if they keep winning and go undefeated, I think they should get a shot. And, they look pretty damn good. What do you think, Rico?
I'm a fan. I'm a Luke Fickell fan. I've been a long time. Back from when he was at Ohio State as the LB coach, in the early 2000s. He's a guy made of the right stuff. He's a leader. He's a great recruiter. He knows what, the culture is like on a winning program, and he brings that, wherever he goes. And you can tell. He's transformed Cincinnati into a big boy program now. And people were questioning why he didn't leave. I'm speaking of myself. I know he had interest from Michigan, from Michigan State, from USC, and it made you question, what are you waiting for? And I think he wants to be the man there. He wants to take that next step with the program. What's it, Big 12?
They are going to the Big 12, yes.
He wants to be that guy. He's going to be the first coach there in the Big 12, and he's going to try to build on it. So the proof's in the pudding, man. You can see he's bringing in different caliber of athletes now. Those guys can play at every position now.
Yeah. No, they've got NFL players on that team, including the quarterback, Desmond Ridder. I mean, every time I watch him, I'm more impressed with him. But I got to be honest, the guy that jumps off the tape the most, and I want to ask you about him being a former badass linebacker. Have you gotten a chance to see Darian Beavers play at all? I mean, this is a guy, he started out as a safety. He moved to defensive end. He's back at linebacker. This guy pops off the tape, in my opinion, and I think he's the best player on their team. Have you got a chance to see him yet?
If you watch the game, you've seen him. If you've watched a quarter of defense, you've seen him. He's fast, physical. He's a specimen out there. And he definitely has that DB speed. He flies to the ball, and he's violent. And that's all you can ask for from a player, man. He's all over the field. He brings that intensity. I love him. He's a ball player, and I'd agree. Another kid who I like, they got from, what's that, Maryville? Not Maryville, Alcoa. Yeah. Isaiah Cox.
Yeah.
He's going to be a star there. I'm telling you, he's going to be a star. But no, your linebacker's an animal, man. You can't watch the game and not notice him.
Yeah, no, he's a badass, and I like both their corners also. And Deshaun Pace is a good player too. Jerome
Let me get
Ford.
this door real quick. Let me open this door real quick.
Yeah, you're good. Yeah, you're good. I just wanted to mention that Jerome Ford, the running back, there used to be a running back by committee situation going on for the Bearcats, but they've, in the last few weeks have really ridden Jerome Ford, and you could tell against Temple, he had 15 carries, 149 yards, 2 touchdowns. He's for real. He's a really good running back, and he's a difference maker. And I think that Cincinnati is going to be favored in every game moving forward. And I just think with what the type of talent that they have and the coach that they have, I don't see a letdown coming for them. I just think they're going to keep going. I think they're going to keep rolling like they've been rolling all season. And I expect them to be undefeated once the year's done. And the way that this is all shaken out, it's going to be interesting to see if the committee gives Cincinnati their fair shake. The only problem that I see with the Bearcats right now is their schedule. Obviously their opponents' strength of schedule, their opponents, remaining opponents' overall rating is a little bit lower probably than they would like, but all they can do is take care of their own business and win out. So we'll see what happens with the Bearcats. But I did also want to touch on the other Arizona State game where they took down Stanford. You got a chance to check that one out. What's your thought on what Coach is doing out there in Tempe?
He's laying that foundation out there is what the old coach is doing out there. I love watching those linebackers they have play. Did you see them? 6'4", 6'5", running around, lean, mean, good in the pass coverage, even better in run. I was impressed with the defense. And what's my guy's name? Antonio Pierce is the D coordinator. And
the former middle linebacker for the New York Giants who went and played in the Super Bowl.
Come on, a career NFL guy. You can tell those linebackers are playing great ball for them on defense. The guys are physical, they're rangy. I like what they're doing on offense. You can tell Coach came in there with that execution at a pro level type mentality because that's how their team's playing right now. And they're going to be a problem. They're going to be a problem as long as he's there.
I agree. And I've been very impressed with the way they've played. I mean, they took down a Stanford team who's much improved since they've made the switch at quarterback and put McKee in there. Stanford's looked tough. They beat USC. They took down Oregon, and then they ran into the Sun Devils, and that was kind of it for them. So kudos to Coach Herm Edwards and the Arizona State. I give them a lot of credit. I hope they keep going because I really like Herm, as I've told you, and I like the Sun Devils too. So I hope they keep winning and have a great season. Another game that I think we've got to mention just for a minute is what happened over here down the street yesterday. I got to go check that out in person. Very impressed with Tennessee in the first half. They came out, I think they were up 38-7, 38-0. They scored 38 points like that. And the offense was aggressive. Herndon Hooker played amazing. And I was very impressed by what I saw in the first half. And then the second half came, and it seemed to me like the play calling got a lot more conservative. It seemed to me like once Tyrone Evans got injured, the run game was pretty much non-existent, and the defense got gashed a little bit as well in the second half. So I like what Coach Heupel's doing, but I was a little bit concerned about the second half action considering who Tennessee's got left to play. You got any thoughts on that one?
I'm not concerned or worried. It's kind of to be expected. I mean, you got 70 guys on scholarship, maybe.
Yeah.
You had all those transfers, guys quit, whatever. And that's exactly what the game progression shows. It's a lack of numbers.
Yeah.
Like the first string, they've developed those guys to where they can compete with anybody.
Yeah.
But in order to beat the big boy programs, the upper echelon of the SEC or the Big Ten even, or Pac-12, you have to be able to substitute 3 or 4 of those guys and still still maintain that level of play, and we're not there. We just can't do it. So, and that's what you saw in the two halves. You got your first string guys ready to roll, playing good enough ball to compete with anybody, make plays, stop big plays from happening, things of that sort. And then you go into into the third, beginning of the fourth, and your backups are in some positions walk-ons. Let's be real. You got walk-ons playing a lot, and it's hard to maintain that level of play. And so I'm impressed with the coach. He's getting the most out of the guys, I feel like, and I'm happy with that. Keep developing these guys, bring in some more guys this next recruiting class, get you some more JUCO or portal transfer guys, and go with it, because you're doing a good job of developing people. We've seen that in a matter of a few months. So I think they're on the right track.
No, I agree with you. I was very impressed. But it's just depth, like you mentioned. It's depth. They don't have two or three guys that are that SEC caliber player, and they get worn out, and it gets exposed in the second half, and we've seen that all year long. But they won the game. They got another SEC win. They're 4-2, so we'll give them credit. We got to talk a little bit about a team that's 6-0, and that is right up the road from here in Lexington, Kentucky. Coach Stoops knows football. We know that. He coached with his brother. He's coached his entire life. But they've given him the ability to build his program. And this is, I think, what you were talking about. Correct me if I'm wrong, but he's got his program at where I think Coach Heupel wants to get the Vols at. He's got that depth. He's got that talent from the starters down to the third string. And you could see that. They took down the Gators for only the second time since 1986 last week. And I expected a possible letdown. There was no letdown. In fact, they looked better yesterday against LSU and kicked the crap out of them and scored 42 points. So I think that Kentucky is for real. What do you think about Kentucky so far and what you've seen?
It's been a project that he's been working on for some years. He's been laying the foundation. He's been quietly grabbing quality guys. And now, like you said, he has that depth now. He's grabbing a couple stars now to go into that solid foundation he's created. And they weren't happy with their position in the SEC, so he did something about it. Hey, they're a serious contender now. As far as being in that group of elites in the SEC. I know that sounds crazy, but we're talking about current play. Their program's coming along. They're making progress, and they're playing good football. They expect to win. Yeah. These guys, they don't fear a Tennessee or Florida or Georgia or Bama like that. These guys expect to win who they have in here now, and that's changing the culture. And Coach, he's changed the culture over there. Those guys expect to be in the ball game with anybody now, and their play shows it. If you think it, you can do it.
I agree, and I like James Bonneville said a little bit earlier, getting that quarterback from Penn State, I think, has really changed their fortunes as well. I liked the guy they had last year, but let's be honest, he was more of a runner. And Will Levis, he can run it and he can throw it. And he's a guy that doesn't get shook. He's pretty even keel, and he's a guy that can win games and win big games. So, right now, I got to be honest with you. When I'm looking at the SEC East, I think Kentucky's the second best team.
Oh, yeah. Like, be real. That's what it looks like.
It's freaking crazy to say it out loud, but from what I've seen thus far, Kentucky is the second best team. They just beat Florida for one, and for two, there ain't anybody else close. So I'm giving the Kentucky team the credit that they deserve, and they're the second best team in the SEC East, and we'll see what happens. But they got a shot against anybody they play because they can play defense, and then I love that running back. Was it Rodriguez? He's legit. So we'll see what happens with them going forward. But they're 6-0, and they deserve all the praise they're getting. So I'm going to throw some on for them too. Before we get out of here, I want to go to our underdogs of the week. A couple underdogs won this week, and some teams also got real close. But I'm gonna let you. You want to go first and tell us who you got?
Ooh, I'm going with the wide receiver from Coastal Carolina, Isaiah Likely. 8 catches, 232 yards, 4 touchdowns. Whoa. I don't care who you're playing. You're the man. And listen, that's my underdog. That's my underdog of the week, or my superstar, or whatever you want to call it. But he's the man. And they're 52-20 against Arkansas State?
Yep, Butch Jones.
8 catches, 232, 4 touchdowns. Come on, that's a breakout. That's a breakout game right there. That's amazing.
No, I agree with you. And I think what their coach and what they've done with that program at Coastal isn't getting the amount of respect that they deserve. I just have been blown away by how that program has played in the last 2 years. And if I was an athletic director trying to change the course of my program, that'd be the first guy I'd call, to be honest with you, just based on what I've seen.
On that list, huh? He's on the short list.
Man, I'd have him on the top of my Rolodex if I was having to bring somebody in and change my program around. But I've got to give my underdog of the week. I've got to give it to the boys in blue, Boise State. They took out BYU yesterday, man. I mean, BYU, a lot of people were thinking they could possibly be in the mix. They were undefeated. They were ranked 10th in the nation. And then they had to play Boise State Broncos, and they got that ass kicked. And Boise State stepped up, took them down 26-17. And I'm giving the Boise State Broncos my underdog of the week. And then my player of the week, I got to give it to Jalen Naylor, the wide receiver for Michigan State. I haven't seen a wide receiver change a game like that in a minute. This is a guy I knew a little bit about. I knew who he was, but man, 5 catches for 221. That's just, that's video game stuff, man. And the guy caught 5 balls, 3 of them were touches. That's pretty amazing to me. And I'm gonna give that guy my player of the week because he looked pretty good. So,
sweet.
All right. Well, we got a big week coming up next week as well. Some more matchups. The only thing that I also wanted to touch on was Notre Dame survived another one. They had to go to Blacksburg, after losing last week to the Bearcats. They had to go into Blacksburg and had to kick a field goal with time expiring to win 32-29. So they got it done, but I'm still not quite sure what to think about them. And then we have to discuss for a moment the Ole Miss Arkansas game. Arkansas got their quarterback back, my boy Jefferson, and he played a hell of a game. They fought till the end, and they had a chance to win, and Coach Pittman went for 2. As a player, you got to love that, right? You got to love going for the game, a game like that where their defense hadn't really stopped them all day. They got a chance to win it with a 2-point. It was a good play call, in my opinion.
Let's do it.
What do you think, man? As a player, you got to love that, right?
Let's do it. Let's do it. Let's try to end this thing right here.
That's what I'm saying. We've talked about Coach Pittman, and I love what he's done. I know he's had a couple of rough weeks, but that's a program that's on the rise, in my opinion. I just think I'm more impressed, even though they lost, with the way they played yesterday, because they went toe-to-toe with that Ole Miss offense and gave old Lane everything he wanted. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. But with them being back, with their quarterback being back at full strength, I look at Arkansas to continue to roll And then, we have to mention for a moment as well, my Buckeyes. Nobody wants to give them the credit they deserve, but, 66 points yesterday against a Maryland team that was 4-1.
I don't know. They were a little beat up already. They had just given up how many the week before? They were broken. Nate, they were broken. Who was that who whooped up on Maryland last week?
Iowa.
Well, and they look even better now, right? Having beat Penn State. So I guess Maryland's not quite that bad, but Iowa blew them out of the water last week.
Yeah.
So it really they gave out the recipe for disaster for Maryland's defense. They can't stop anybody. They can score some points typically, but that defense is not it. They're not getting it.
No, you're right. You're right. Their defense has struggled. They gave up 51 to Iowa, and like you mentioned, I believe you're 100% right. They exposed some weaknesses in that Maryland secondary. I mean, they look a little rough. They look a little rough in that back end.
Yeah, they need to revisit.
Yeah. Well, you know what? To give them, the benefit of the doubt, I'm not sure anybody could have stopped the Buckeyes and what they had going on there yesterday. C.J. Stroud, who all the idiot Buckeye fans wanted to bench 2 weeks ago, he went 24 of 33 for 406 yards, 5 touchdowns, no picks. And your boy, I know he's not from D.C., but Travion is from Virginia. Yeah. And this guy, he may be the best freshman running back I've seen definitely since Maurice Claret and maybe ever. 16 carries, 102 yards, 2 touchdowns. Also had a couple of catches, 4 catches for 67 yards. This is a guy that, if he was playing in the second half, probably would be leading the nation in rushing just because he's got that burst. And he was unstoppable again yesterday. And 66-17. I'm telling you right now, these young guys that are on the Buckeye team are starting to play like older guys, and that's going to make the rest of the Big Ten a little bit nervous going forward. So,
yeah,
we'll see what happens. But I was pretty impressed with them, and I was kind of blown away by how easy it looked because I expected Maryland to give them a good game, but it was pretty much Buckeyes or bust yesterday. So, pretty amazing week of college football, man. Tell me you had to enjoy that yesterday, right?
I didn't really get to, Nate. I watched it, but we didn't take care of business.
Oh, no.
He didn't take care of business yesterday. I got to watch some games, but we did not take care of business yesterday. So it was, I don't know, it was bittersweet for me, I guess I should say.
I understand.
But, it was quite a few big-time games on, man. You got to love it as just a true football fan. You got to love the games that went on. I agree with you. Bama losing, it's great for the sport if you ask me. Like you say, that parity thing, man, it's keeping everybody honest now in the SEC, and anybody can be beat on any given day. And we're back to that in college football. I mean, an Iowa Penn State game, 2 good teams. Somebody had to lose. Who else did we have played some good ball? Oklahoma and Texas. You can't ask for better, entertainment than that. You saw a guy come off the bench and lead a team to a comeback victory. That's what sports is all about, comeback stories, somebody working on their legacy. That kid started building his legacy yesterday. Let's be real. Yeah. So that's the beauty of watching college sports right there. It's all over the board,
No, I agree with you, man. I enjoyed getting to get in the stadium yesterday and see a game live. That was pretty cool. And I'm looking forward to next week, man. We got Auburn versus Arkansas. Biggest game for me next week is Kentucky and Georgia.
Yes, sir.
That's my opinion. You think we've been blowing the Cats for an hour? You think they can beat Georgia?
Listen, I think they have as good as a chance of beating Georgia as I thought Texas A&M had beaten Alabama. So I'm gonna just leave it at that.
Okay.
Like, be real. I didn't see them having better odds or worse odds than that ball game. I didn't see Texas A&M beating Alabama. The same way you kind of don't see Arkansas beating Georgia, but we know that, hey, that thing can happen. So that'll be a good game to watch.
Yeah, no, I think Kentucky's got a good shot. And the health of JT Daniels, I think, might play a role in this. As I mentioned, I'm not a big believer in the Cologne man, Stetson. I don't see him leading them to victory over that Mark Stoops defense. I just think it's going to be tough.
Think about this. I think about the psychological side of it, right? The psychology behind it. Your team knows when their main guy isn't in there.
Yeah.
So I think they lock in even more. And that's kind of what you got yesterday. Everybody knew that it was even more imperative that you take care of business because you want to leave as least amount of responsibility on that QB as possible. So it could be either way, man. Sometimes you don't want that backup. Sometimes you do want the starter. That's I learned that in my career. 07 championship game.
Yeah.
You know, who was it? Was it Matt Flynn was LSU's quarterback?
Yeah.
You know, he's hurt. Then we get a backup who's unpredictable. He wins the ball game for him. Now, we shot ourselves in the foot, a couple times, but Nate, you really don't want that backup guy sometimes.
No, it does. I agree. It does give the other guys a mindset like, hey, we need to step it up and we need to bring the thumpers on defense, and we need to, the running backs feel like they need to bring a little extra, and that may make a difference. I just feel like that for Georgia to win, that they're going to have to throw the football some, because I just don't think they're going to be able to run over the Kentucky defense like they've been running people over. And I could be wrong on that, but I just feel like Kentucky's front is better than what they've seen.
Yeah, they're good now. They're really good. So it'll be something new for them up there. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, that'll be a good game. So we're gonna check out Georgia versus Kentucky. We're gonna check out Alabama, Mississippi State. Ole Miss is coming to town here to take on Tennessee, and we've also got a big game for our Bearcats. Cincinnati plays UCF, so that'll be a big game for them, and we'll probably have another fun group of games to dissect next weekend.
Let's do it.
All right, buddy. Coach, you have a good one. I appreciate you bringing the funk today and breaking it down for us. I had a good time, and I'll talk to you soon, okay?
Always a good time, Nate. I'll talk to you later on.
All right, buddy. Have a good one.
You too.